Hi, astronomer friends. We're back with another lesson in our astronomy today. So today we're doing lesson 2. Sorry, had to grab my book. Today we're doing lesson 2. But before we begin talking about lesson 2, let's talk about what we learned in the last lesson. So, I disappeared. Hold on. Let me share here. Okay, so let's look at our review. Okay, so let's talk about our review. So, what do we call a scientist who studies astronomy or space? I'll give you a hint. I just called you it. It's an astronomer. Astronomer is a scientist who studies astronomy or anything in space, okay? What are some objects that are in space? The sun, the moon, stars. You might even say some other things that you might know. What do we call the first level of the sky? It's the bubble of air that surrounds the Earth. That one's a tricky one. Remember, that is the atmosphere. And what objects in the sky can be seen during the day? Clouds, planes, birds, the sun. What can we see at night? The moon and stars. Awesome. Okay, so let's go over our vocabulary words before we start talking about our lesson. Gravity, the force or pull of objects down to Earth or toward each other. The Earth's gravity helps our feet stay on the ground. So gravity, if I take this marker and drop it, gravity pulls the marker towards the ground. Now I just lost my marker. Gravity is what helps us stay on the ground. Horizon, the place in the distance where the land or a body of water appears to meet. The sun rose above the horizon. So right here, this line where the sky and the ocean meet, that's the horizon. Sometimes if you look out, you can see where the sky and the land meet. That's the horizon too. Orbit, a regular or repeated path that one object takes around another. The moon moves orbit around the Earth. Oops. Planet, a large object in space that does not provide its own light but circles around a star for light. The Earth is the third planet from the sun. Rotates, spins around an axis or a center. The Earth rotates on its axis. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing for a second, because I want to show you some things. Okay, so let's look at our Earth, okay? Now our Earth moves in 2 different ways. Bet you didn't know that. So remember, let me find us here. Remember, we are right here on the Earth, teeny tiny little spot. We're in the purple, state of Tennessee. We're on there somewhere, okay? So we are located on the Earth. Now, so even though we can't feel it, our Earth is constantly moving. It is spinning. It's not going like this, because if that were the case, we wouldn't be sitting on Earth anymore. But it's really, really slowly spinning. Okay, so it spins all the time. When it spins all the way around, we say it rotates. And once it rotates from one whole day, so let's see. Let me find us again. Okay, so here's North America. This is where we live. So if it's rotating or spinning, once it makes it all the way around, I'm going a little faster than it is, when it gets all the way back to that same point, that's one day. One whole rotation of the Earth is one day, okay? Now, that's one way the Earth moves. It rotates. Now let's look at another way the Earth rotates, or not rotates, but moves. So let me move my board out of the way. I'm going to, this is our sun, okay? And this is our Earth. Now, remember, our Earth is spinning on its axis, or rotating on its axis. But while it's also spinning or rotating, it is also orbiting around the sun. So while we're spinning, we're also circling the sun. Okay, so when we circle the sun, we call it an orbit. Now, when we circle the sun one whole time, that is 1 year. So it takes us, our planet Earth, 1 whole year to orbit the sun. Now, it takes 1 whole day for us to rotate. So it rotates 365 times while it is orbiting around the sun. Okay, so we've learned two ways that our Earth moves. It rotates and it orbits. So let me go back here. Stop sharing for a second. Okay, so there's 2 ways that it moves. It rotates and it orbits, okay? When it rotates, it spins. And when it orbits, it goes around, okay? Whew, that's a lot. So today, we're gonna find out how the Earth's rotation causes day and night. So are y'all ready? Okay, so I have to share a different screen with you guys. So give me just 1 second here because my slides are messed up. So we're gonna go here. Look how pretty that is. Don't we all wish we could be there right now? All right, all plants and animals and people rely on the sun for life. The sun's energy gives life to plants, which in turn provides food for animals and people. The sun's heat keeps the surface of the earth warm enough for plants and animals to survive. For people on Earth, it makes sense to say that the sun rises in the morning. Each morning at dawn, the sun appears on the horizon in the eastern sky. So dawn is in the morning, which is sunrise, and the sun is coming up. So let's pretend this is the horizon right here. The sun would go up this way. Okay, that's during sunrise. So the sun goes up the horizon. At dawn, some people say, look, the sun is coming up. This first appearance of the sun above the eastern horizon is called sunrise. So anytime the sun is coming up, that's sunrise, okay? That's pretty. Over the course of the day, the sun appears to move across the sky gradually, following its path from east to west. In the evening, the sun sets in the west. Ever so slowly, it gets lower in the sky and disappears below the horizon. That's when people say the sun is going down. This disappearance of the sun below the western horizon is called sunset. Okay, so let's pretend this is the horizon. My arm is the horizon. When the sun comes up, it's sunrise. That's in the morning time. And then it goes down below the horizon, so it'll come down. That's sunset, and that happens at nighttime, okay? So based on what we can see from where we live on Earth, it seems sensible to say the sun moves across the sky each day, rising or moving up in the east and setting or sinking down in the west. In fact, that's exactly what people 1,000 years ago thought was happening. But that's not actually true. It's the daily rotation or spin of the earth that makes the sun appear to rise and set each day. So, let's take a look. Now, I'm going to pretend my globe here and my sun. Now, my sun is a lot smaller than my globe today, but that's okay. We're going to pretend this is my sun. Okay, so when the earth is spinning, see if I can the camera so you can see a little better. Okay, So while the Earth is spinning, the sun actually doesn't move. So it just looks like it's going around us, but in reality, we are the one traveling around. So in one day, you'll see the sun rise and set. Okay, so we're spinning, the sun's not. Okay, where were we? Earth spins or rotates on its axis. Remember the two lines or the little poles? These are my axis. It stays in place on that imaginary line. Imagine the Earth's axis as an imaginary pole sticking through the center of the planet from the south. It takes 24 hours or 1 day for the Earth to spin or rotate all the way around one time. This daily rotation explains why there is always night and day on Earth. As it spins, certain parts of Earth's surface face the sun, receiving its heat and light. When it's light on one side of the Earth, it's dark on the other side. So if you look at it, let me turn my light here. So right now, let's pretend that the sun is shining right here. On this side, it's a lot darker. So maybe we can show it better on this little ball. So if you look, you can see on this side, it's really light, but on this side, it's darker. That's because the sun is shining on this side and not on this side. All right, here we go. Keep going. I lost my spot, guys. Sorry. All right, let's see. So if it's daytime where you are right now, then on the other side of the Earth, it's nighttime, and the children there are sound asleep. So let's see. We are here. Okay, here's North America. And on the very other side of the world, we have China. So right now, we are awake, but China is asleep. They are sound asleep right now because it's dark and it's nighttime there. And when you're nestled in your bed tonight, children on the other side of the planet will be waking up to a bright new day. So while you're sleeping, the children in China are going to school. Kind of interesting. This spinning or rotation, however, is not the only way Earth moves in space. Because Earth is a planet, it also moves or revolves around the sun. The word planet means a large object in space that revolves around the star for light. Okay, so remember the sun is a star that provides our Earth with light. Earth moves or revolves around the sun, following a constant path. The path that Earth follows around the sun is called the Earth's orbit. So this imaginary line that you see around the sun, that's the orbital path that the Earth takes every time it goes around the sun. The path that Earth follows the same path as it revolves around or orbits the sun. It takes about 365 days or 1 year for Earth to make one complete orbit or revolution around the sun. But how and why does Earth orbit the sun? The answer to this question involves one of the most important lessons you can learn in the study of astronomy. In space, there are large objects like the sun, and there are smaller objects like Earth and Moon. All objects in space actually pull on all other objects, but larger objects pull harder than smaller objects. The force that causes objects to pull on each other is called gravity. As this pulling action happens, the force of the sun's gravity holds Earth in place. Although Earth continues to follow its orbit around the sun, the Earth does not wander off into space. So the sun's gravity holds Earth into place. Just like Earth's gravity holds us on Earth, the sun's gravity holds Earth in that same circle, okay? Just as the sun pulls on the Earth and other objects out in space, the Earth pulls on objects on or near the surface. Because of this, your feet stay planted firmly on the ground. And if you jump up, you come straight back down. If you throw a ball in the air, it falls straight back down too. The force of gravity holds things on the ground and holds the planet Earth in orbit around the sun. You cannot tell that the Earth is always moving as you sit in your classroom or wherever you happen to be. It rotates or spins all day and every day as it travels in its year-long course around the sun. These two types of movement, the rotation and the revolution of the Earth, create the days and years that we keep track of on the calendar. All right, guys, so let's look at our review, okay? So let's talk about what we've learned today. So describe what we see at sunrise each day. What happens at sunrise? Remember, the sun comes up over the horizon. And which side? East or west? Comes up on the east side. Rises on the east, sets in the west. So on sunset, the sun goes down the horizon on the west. Let's see. Does the sun move around the Earth? Nope, we move around the Earth, the sun. When we're on the side of the Earth facing away from the sun, is it day or night? If we're not near the sun, then it's nighttime. If we're near the sun, then it's daytime. Is it day or night on the opposite side of the Earth? So if it's nighttime here, what is it on the opposite side? It's daytime. When we're on the side of the Earth that faces the sun, is it day or night? Daytime. So what's it on the opposite end of the Earth? Nighttime. All right. All right, so we talked about how the Earth travels in a path to the sun, and it takes 1 year to go all the way around the sun. What is that path called? It's an orbit or a revolution. Well, we've been talking more about orbit. Do we call a large object in space that revolves around a star for light? Or what do we call an object in space that revolves around the star for light? A planet. And on what planet do we live? So the Earth moves in two different ways. One way the Earth moves is orbiting the sun. What is the other way it moves? It spins or rotates on its axis. Nice job, guys. Okay, so now it's your turn. You're gonna go into your Google Classroom and you are gonna go answer those questions, okay? If you have any questions, you can either email me or you can even look back in the video and see if it can help you answer it better. Now, I go over every question I post, so you should have all the answers to your questions. You don't, just email me. Bye, friends.